And welcome to the channel market chart pattern. Here we pick a market, we take a look at the chart, and then we analyze the patterns and what information they are providing us. Before we move forward, disclaimer first. What we are going to discuss in this video is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice at all. Today we will take a look at commodity stocks. The first one we'll take a look at is Rio Tinto. We are taking a look at the one listed on the London Stock Exchange. It just kind of helps to take the FX side of things out of the equation. The ADR, which is traded on New York Stock Exchange, does have a similar kind of pattern. Okay, so what we can see in the chart is that last year in May, the stock formed a bottom in March. That's around the time when the Federal Reserve and other central banks they came out with a massive amount of quantitative easing and presented a large amount of liquidity in the market. And it also coincided with the bottom in stock indices, and then a lot of commodities actually took off. So here what we see is that 20th of March 2020 forms a bottom, and then the stock begins to move higher. It's a bit of consolidation here. It moves lower a little bit, and then there is a move higher, a little bit of consolidation, moves lower, then forms a top in May of 2021. Actually, one interesting thing is if we try to find if there is a one-to-one relationship between the swings, what we can do is we can just take a simple line, and then we just join from the bottom or the low to the high which was made here, and then we just clone this and try to project it from an obvious low here. And what we can see is that actually the price reached 64 pounds and 6 pounds, 64 pounds and 82 pence. It's a trade on London Stock Exchange, and here it kind of stalled. Then there was a push lower, and then a final kind of a move higher, and then there is a prolonged move lower. So there does seem to be an interesting one-to-one relationship between these swings. Now, something very interesting happened, and it happened recently. As we know that since May, the price of the stock has been coming down. It has moved lower. If we just take a simple, Fibonacci retracement tool in this trading view charting platform, and we just take the low which was formed in March of 2020 and the high in May of 2021, what we find is that the price recently hit a 61.8% Fibonacci level here, which we can see, which is represented by this black dotted line. And also there is something very interesting around this point, because it's also a confluence level of a few other patterns coming together. So one thing which we have found is this move which we see over here are represented as line segment A, B, C, D. This is actually a one-to-one projection of this swing lower projected from this point C. And then what we saw was it kind of found a temporary bottom here, consolidated for some time, tried to move higher, and honestly didn't get anywhere. I'll try to actually zoom a little bit on this one. And it was actually, the stock was so weak that it couldn't even make a 38.2% retracement of this swing at all, which told us this market was weak. And once this low was broken down, it went lower. Then it kind of did another smaller ABCD in a corrective manner, and then finally it came lower down to where that 61.8% retracement is. But the interesting thing is that there is a one-to-one relationship, a measured move here. So this line segment, you take that, you clone it, you take this top and you bring it down here, and what we can see is that there is a level of around 42.78, which is pretty close to the Fibonacci level, and it forms a sort of a zone, which is highlighted here in this rectangular box, and that is our support area. Now, what the price did today is it actually, with a decent level of volume, moved higher and actually took this swing high out and went into this swing low, which was formed back in September, and it was pretty high volume. The number of shares traded were about 9.378 million, and it went right into it and actually moved higher into it with the volume of 4.895 million shares. So it looks very interesting and looks positive kind of action. So what appears is that from this 61.8% retracement and with a constructive positive kind of price action, as long as this kind of this support zone between 44.20 and 42.40 is held, there is a good chance that perhaps this stock is actually moving higher, and it's possible it is perhaps moving into its next cycle, and where we could have also another A, B, C, D larger cycle taking it higher, much higher. But this is the support zone it is in, and that needs to hold for this analysis to be valid. Now we will take a look at another stock, Freeport-McMoRan. We will also analyze this stock with the commodity high-grade copper, and we'll see how this stock and high-grade copper is kind of, has a good correlation with it. Now, this is very, very interesting. Before we begin to look at the recent price action, let's kind of zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to go into this chart going back to the low which was formed in March, similar to what we saw with Rio Tinto. And actually what we see is that if we draw a simple Fibonacci retracement by taking the low and the high, what we see is that actually 38.2% retracement comes around $30.25 per share. And that's what happened. That price hit this level, and it seems to have found support from this level of Fibonacci 38.2% retracement. It moved higher, it tried to retest this level, formed a higher low, which we can actually also call it, formed a double bottom in my books. This is a double bottom, and then it began to move higher. It also broke this trend line, and then what happened is that, let's see which level did it reach. We take a high, we take a low, and it went right into the 61.8% retracement. Now what I've done is, the way I've drawn this is from top to the bottom, so from high to the low. So we are actually looking for a resistance point. When we did this for the Rio Tinto stock, we were drawing it from low to high, so we were looking for a support. So what is really interesting in today's price action is that when the price hit this 61.8% retracement level, it went kind of in a consolidation. So you can see that for a while, for nearly about a month, it has just gone nowhere. It is kind of consolidating in this trading range, which I've drawn with this green box, and today it broke out of it. So this is very, very interesting. And it looks like the stock is looking to move higher. It's looks a constructive price action. The next kind of resistance level comes around 42.60, which is 78.6% retracement. If the stock is able to take this out, which today's move is actually on a pretty good volume, so 39.42 million shares traded. If it is able to close above this, let's say at least two consecutive trading days, then this high is kind of the next swing it is going to tackle, and perhaps make a newer high by taking it out. Now, what we're also going to do is we are actually going to compare this with the price of high grade copper. So I've chosen this function of compare in trading view, and HG is the symbol for high grade copper, and we are just going to select the current contract, the front running contract, and the yellow line plotted is actually the price of copper. And what we can see is that the stock Freeport-McMoRan, and the price of commodity, the copper, it seems to be moving in a kind of a lockstep. So there is a pretty good correlation. So obviously it has not moved kind of, in tandem 100% of the time. And it appears that at times the commodity perhaps might have been a little bit stronger. Here what we see is a lower high, sorry, a low being made here, whereas the stock made a low here, and then a higher low was made here. The commodity also made a higher low here, and then what appears to be happening now is that the stock appears to be kind of more constructive, is showing more constructive price action. So these are the two stocks in the commodity space we are watching, and the levels which we have mentioned for the Rio, and especially for this Freeport-McMoRan, the way it broke out of this trading range and took out this 61.8% Fibonacci resistance level, is constructive price action, and there's a good chance that the stock is going to move higher in price, and at some point in the future we'll come back and review our analysis, and we'll see how these stocks have performed. If you like how we are analyzing and doing the technical analysis, and you are interested in this kind of analysis, please do subscribe to the channel. Also hit the bell icon so that you are always aware of when new videos will be uploaded, and technical analysis being performed on new stocks, indices, commodities, currencies. If you would like something to be looked at, please do mention that in the comments, and I will take a look at that stock or commodity which you want me to have a look at and analyze. Thank you very much. Have a great day, evening, night. Speak to you soon.